Should WWE pay-per-views be co-branded? What were the top 5 moments of the week? Who will win this Sunday at Fastlane? All this and more next on the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast. And welcome to this very special Fastlane edition of the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast. This is your host, Robert Red.
And I'm Chris Sonic, and thank you guys so much for joining us. If you like this podcast, please subscribe to us for free by searching the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast on iTunes on your computer, the podcast app for iOS devices, or Play Music for Android. You can also check us out on Shout Engine, and now we're available on Stitcher. And hey, why don't you go to patreon.com, sign up for a free account. Yes, I said it, free. We love free. You love free. And here's a little bonus for you. If you sign up for a free account on Patreon, all of our content will be available for free.
On this month only.
Yes, this month only. So if I were you, I better sign up for that free account, patreon.com/PPWP. So, how you been, Mr. Riffin? Glad to have you back on the show. Been crazy, but it's been all good. Crazy way in professional sports overall. But nevertheless, I'm good. You?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I just had to go to the emergency room with my mom the other night, which was not very well. I got back home at like 1 o'clock Friday morning now because we did intend to record yesterday, but because of the prior circumstances, we are recording this the day before Fastlane, so we have a very action-packed weekend. We're going to actually give our Fastlane predictions at the end of the show, our top 5 moments, and then we're going to kick off the show after our ramble with... This is supposed to be the last co-branded pay-per-view, or actually single-branded pay-per-view that's a SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view. It has been reported, starting with Backlash after WrestleMania, all pay-per-views are going to be co-branded. So that's going to be very interesting. But let's ramble before we get to our topic. And we also had some shows that happened last night. We had Ring of Honor 16th anniversary. And
Live
Impact
on pay-per-view last night.
Yeah, you could catch it Fight App, pay-per-view, a lot of distributions.
And also Impact's presentation of Last Chancery, which was taped the week before the airing of this episode, or might I say the airing of Impact on Twitch. Well, people got to see that once again last night also for Twitch, especially, if you're on Twitch. But there's a whole lot more to this actually, because WWE had a pay-per-view. Elimination Chamber was in Vegas, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Ring of Honor's pay-per-view was in Vegas.
Yeah, last night, yeah.
Impact's going to be in Vegas this Sunday night with one of their partners, Future Stars of Wrestling. That should be most interesting. All big three in one city.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Very interesting.
But, I mean, do you want to discuss kind of... I've seen parts of the 16th anniversary show. I don't think you've seen anything. So, I mean, and were you hyped going into the 16th anniversary show?
Right, I was very hyped. And coming up in our next segment, which will be our top 5, I will discuss a little bit towards that. But I was hyped up about 16th anniversary more than... I was really hyped up for a whole lot of pay-per-views, but I really want to give a little special shout out and to all those podcasts that really never gave this guy a whole lot of credit. Shame on you. That guy I'm talking about is Kazuchika Okada. Let's really put this into perspective, because I've said it on Twitter. I'm put this into perspective. 608 number for Kurt Angle in Impact Wrestling. Okada has surpassed that. 1,412 days of 16 reigns of John Cena as WWE Champion. Okada has surpassed that in 4. The next record coming up is Samoa Joe's 645. And Okada's next championship defense is, as far as New Japan Pro Wrestling is concerned, is coming up at Sakura Genesis on April 1st, along with returning to the States on March 25th. What about the run of Okada right now? Because I had somebody ask me, do I take Brock Lesnar's reign more serious or do I take Okada's reign more serious? The answer is easy for me. It's Okada.
Yeah, I mean, Brock Lesnar, yeah, he's had a long reign, but it's
it hasn't really mean a whole lot.
It's quality over quantity. You can have a long reign, and like I know we reported back like years ago, we kind of talked about this subject about longer title reigns and how it was supposed to add value to the title and stuff like that. But to me, just because someone has a long title reign, it doesn't necessarily add value to the championship. It's having competitive matches that are good and watching and competing on a normal basis. It's like, not to get political, but it's like elections. If you don't have elections frequent enough, if someone's just stayed president for all of their life and say they were a young guy, you could have a president 30, 40, 50 years. So you wouldn't have a democratic process if you don't have elections often. So it would be like that with the championship. If the championship is not defended often enough, to me, it doesn't add value or prestige just because someone on like a Brock Lesnar or someone like that's holding the title. That doesn't add prestige for me. It's, are you defending the title in matches that are competitive and good and quality matches? It doesn't matter to me how long your reign is. That's why I agree with you. Okada has had a much more impressive reign than what Brock Lesnar has.
And think about this reign. It started June. He won the title from Naito June of 2016. And he's the champion now.
Yeah, a very long time.
And Joe is coming up. And then after Samoa Joe, it's RVD. And think about this. RVD's the longest reign for a champion at this point is RVD at 700. Can Okada hit the magic number of 700? If he goes this way and is successful at Genesis, Sakura Genesis coming up, I say the answer is yes. I say he will hit that number 700. But, hey, enough about that. We'll talk about that and Okada in future Power Pro Wrestling episodes. But let's get to this Cole branded deal. Would you care to explain on this one?
Well, that's a very interesting topic that we're going to be discussing, Cornbread. Co-branded pay-per-views have happened before in the original brand split when WWE had bought out WCW and won the Monday Night War. And then they kind of had their first draft in 2002 after WrestleMania 18. They actually started with co-branded pay-per-views. Both Raw and SmackDown were on every pay-per-view. Now, that continued for a while until they started doing what were called brand-specific pay-per-views, to where Raw would get one, SmackDown would get one, and only kind of like the big four, like a SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, stuff like that, were co-branded pay-per-views. So we're going to be debating today if co-branded pay-per-views are a good thing or a bad thing. So for anyone who may be new to the show, Cornbread will have 2 minutes to present his side of the debate, and I'll have 2 minutes to present my side of the debate.
And then you decide.
Yeah, and at the end of the show, you can go on Twitter, which will give you the address, and you can tell us who won. So, Cornbread, you want to kick us off on the co-branded pay-per-views?
To answer this question, should WWE pay-per-views be co-branded? I'm gonna say, for this case, and for the sake of the argument, no, with one exception. And notice I put that loosely. No, with one exception. And that one exception is the Big Four. But I really narrowed this down very quickly. I said Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, all co-branded. But here is how I had that lineup. After the Royal Rumble, you have Raw for February, SmackDown for March. SmackDown will take us to WrestleMania. That means you have enough time, especially if you're Monday Night Raw and you go from February to April, you have enough time to really prime up whoever's not been in that main event scene or in the secondary scene. You have a whole lot of time just to try to push yourself to get yourself ready for Mania. Also, like I said, Big Four in their deals. January, April, August, November. That's Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, all co-branded. Everything else, no. And I split it up 4-4-4. Raw will have February, May, July, October. Whereas SmackDown will have March before Mania, June, September, and then right after Survivor Series, they can bring back Armageddon. But my purpose is for this one is because everyone's been pretty much complaining about, oh, we have quote unquote talents that's not quote unquote being able to get over. I can see a 50-50 argument with that. But in order for really to make it go further, this should be no excuse for all the talent and for creative not to prime the wrestlers and to really boost up the quote-unquote mid-card, as y'all call it. I call it secondary. Boost up the secondary wrestlers for the Big Four and for every single pay-per-view. And you can literally build to all your brand-specific pay-per-views that will help you build to your Big Four. Because I've said it before on this podcast, and I don't mind repeating myself. The Big Four should be on pay-per-view. With the WWE Network, both Raw and SmackDown shall all have their brand-specific pay-per-views on the WWE Network only. That way you have enough time to build to your Big Four and have it good. But that's my deal. I say they should not be co-branded. Just on that argument.
Okay. Well, you presented some good, strong arguments there, but I disagree. Cornbread, I believe that the pay-per-view should be co-branded. And the reason why is when you have these brand-specific pay-per-views that are just Raw and SmackDown, yeah, it might allow you to get more talent on there, but you have repetition in matches is a lot of times, like we saw it with the Randy Orton Jinder Mahal this past year. It was like 3 times, I think, that they took on one another. So you have more repetitive matches when you have brand specific pay-per-views. Now, when you have dual branded pay-per-views, you really don't have the luxury because you have 3 hours and you have to get more people on. So you really can't get those repetitive matches when you have the dual branded pay-per-views. Plus, it's going to make the pay-per-views more worthwhile to watch, because a lot of times, like in the original, when they were doing brand specific pay-per-views back in the original brand split at like maybe 06, 07 or something like that, a lot of pay-per-views would be lackluster and wouldn't be worth watching, because I remember there'd be good Raw pay-per-views, but then the SmackDown specific pay-per-views they would have the next month would be terrible, not worth watching. So it would add more value and would be more entertaining to have the co-branded pay-per-views go on every month like that. And I mean, just with those facts alone is why I think the pay-per-view should be co-branded, because of it's going to take away the repetitive matches. It's going to make them more worthwhile and stuff. And like, even if you have a situation where you want to have a Brock Lesnar not be on the pay-per-view and you have like one of your champions not on the pay-per-view, you'll have the other brand's champion that can be defended and be put in the main event. So I mean, just those kind of facts alone is why I think all the pay-per-views should be co-branded.
Well, let me ask you this one question, and I know probably for the sake of your argument, let's go back to the Royal Rumble for just a moment. If that Raw, do you agree that if the winner, or might I say whoever the winner is of that Royal Rumble, whether it's a Raw superstar or SmackDown superstar, should that individual main event close WrestleMania in the title match regardless?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they should, because that's supposed to be the stipulation of the Royal Rumble. You're supposed to get, not only are you supposed to get a title match at Mania, but you're supposed to main event. That's the whole big deal. And that's not going to happen this year with Shinsuke Nakamura, whoever he may face, which I'll give our predictions at the end. It's going to be Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. Or they could, if this is Taker's last match and he does come back, that could be Taker Cena. I do not see Nakamura main event WrestleMania, and that's sad.
Yeah, and also for the sake of your argument, before we go to break, for the sake of your argument, let's really put this a whole lot into perspective. And with your argument, as far as dual branded pay-per-views are concerned, do you think WWE needs to put the hammer on a whole lot of people that they have to step up and compete?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I mean, here's the thing, because variety is the spice of life. So, I mean, that's why not having the brand specific pay-per-views, you can fit more of your roster on there, and that's a good point. But you're going to see the same superstars on pay-per-view all the time. you're not going to really get a mixture of it. So,
but should that talent step up?
Yeah.
Or should they even have a voice to say, hey, whether you have something for me or not, I want to step up? Because right now, here's the thing. You're signed with WWE, and you're making the quote-unquote cheese. Notice I use that loosely. But bottom line, you just literally just almost like dormant. And Monday night, and a couple Monday nights ago, when Raw put that deal together at the last second, kind of proved it. Mm-hmm. Do you think all those individuals that really has quote-unquote not been on the talent deal should step up and try to take a spot?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely do need to step up their game.
But who do you think won this debate? Why don't you let us know? Why don't you leave us your comments, will you?
Yeah, definitely. That's all the time we have for the debate. So tell us who you think won on Twitter at PPWP Podcast. But don't go anywhere. Our top 5 moments are coming up next. Attention, all pro wrestling fans. You now can show your support for the podcast that is by wrestling fans for wrestling fans. The Power of Pro Wrestling Podcast on Patreon. On Patreon, you will get early access to the podcast, along with access to articles and other great content. You can show your support today on the podcast on Patreon by going to patreon.com/PPWP. Hello, everyone. This is Robert Red.
I'm Chris Hannigan.
And our show can be heard on Stitcher. Stitcher is radio on demand.
Download the free app today.
You can listen anytime and anywhere.
Stitcher is an award-winning free app that lets you listen to all your favorite shows, plus discover from 20,000 news, entertainment, and sports shows.
You can even create custom playlists.
Over 20,000 shows to discover.
You can rate and review the show on Stitcher.
Also available on iOS, Android, Nook, and iPad.
And along with that, it is in 4 million car dashboards.
And it's on demand and on the go.
No downloading, no syncing, and no wasted memory.
Stream your favorite podcast.
Well, if you don't have Stitcher, you can download it free today at Stitcher.com or in your app store.
Hi, this is Joe Goodenhoof, and you listen to the Power Pro Wrestling Broadcast.
Welcome back to the show. Brace yourselves. It's now time for our top 5. With all the exciting action this week, we'll be counting down our favorite moments from 5 to 1, starting with number 5. Okay, Cornbread, what is your number 5 moment for the week?
This is a shocker for me. And the reason why this is a shocker is because normally I would not ever have anything Ring of Honor at literally below 3 or 4. But this is the one time because of everything that will be said in my top 5. My number 5 is the preview of the 16th anniversary pay-per-view with world title implications all in one. And that's 2 matches put together for one tag team match to send us to the pay-per-view. And that's the main event. Punishment Martinez and the villain, Marty Scurll.
The villain.
As a team, not as opponents, as a team against Jay Lethal and Dalton Castle. As a team. This was very interesting because not only did we get our preview of the pay-per-view, but this was a great, great competitive matchup. Every man tried to one-up the other, all for that opportunity to be future, especially for 3 guys, to be a future Ring of Honor World Champions, and for one current champion to remain that way heading into Supercard. This was very competitive, and I loved it. That's my number 5. What's yours?
Well, my number 5, ironically enough, is going to come from SmackDown Live, and it is the Fatal 5-Way. The match kind of started as an AJ Dolph Ziggler.
Right.
It was interrupted by Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. So Shane McMahon was like, okay, ain't going down that way. You two hop in the ring, and it's going to be you. And he even kind of did the Teddy Long tease. He's like, you thought I'm going to make this a tag team match? No, it's going to be AJ versus Dolph versus Kevin versus Sammy and this guy in a Fatal 5-Way. And obviously Corbin being the fifth man. Now, a lot of people would complain that's essentially you gave your Fastlane main event away on free TV just days before the pay-per-view. I didn't mind it because it was kind of like a preview into what is going to happen this Sunday.
You needed a preview.
And you don't have John Cena there, so it's not going to be necessarily the exact same match. But, I mean, yeah, you're going to get a lot of the good same spots. Let me look at my notes, and I'll kind of give you why I liked it as number 5.
Go for it.
I love how dominant Corbin was during the beginning of the match. I said best friends Sammy and Kevin, which that might appear on my list later, hint, hint. And because they did kind of the hug spot that Chucky T and Beretta do from Ring of Honor, so that's why
true heavyweight.
I called the best friends thing Spot Fest. They had a spot in the match where everybody was kind of hitting their moves, so I just said Spot Fest. Love the Tower of Doom. That was great as well. I love the story of like Styles breaking up the pin. Something he's going to have to do this Sunday is he's going to have eyes in the back of his head. Basically, like during this match, when there was a pinfall, he would come in, break it, another one, break it, another one, break it. He was constantly, it seemed like, breaking pinfall. So I love that psychology that he was trying to stop someone from getting a pin because
he's in a must-win.
Yeah, he's in a must-win situation. So, I mean, from that, he has to do that on Sunday. Tuesday, he didn't have to. Sunday, he's going to have to. Oh, saw that. And then I love his spinning heel kick by AJ. And then I said best friends gone bad, ? With Sammy hitting the haluva kick to on Kevin Owens, his best friend, to get the pin to win the match.
I'll admit, I saw that coming. I'll admit, I saw that coming. Because, one, you really, how long are you going to sit by and be in the shadows? Suck him in, make you think that he's on your side, and then guess what? When he's not looking, you strike.
Yeah, and I mean, I would have loved for this to have happened at maybe the pay-per-view and Sammy not win, but have him turn on Kevin and do that at the pay-per-view because have Sammy kind of reassure him that, okay, I'm going to lay down for you and you're going to win.
False hope.
Yeah, false sense of security, and then, like you said, lure him in and hit him with the Aluva kick and then possibly try to win the title. So, that was my number 5 moment for the week.
Number 4.
Okay, Cornbread, what's your number 4 moment for the week?
One of my dream matches. And this one was an international dream match, and I'm going to Impact Wrestling on this one. Title for title, the X Division champion, Ishimori. Meaning Taji Ishimori, to all you ROH fans, versus the grand champion, Matt Sydal. Title for title, winner goes home with both championships. To me, I summed this up with the shooting star press of Matt Sydal versus the tombstone front tracker 450 of Taji Ishimori. These two guys threw on an excellent, incredible match. And it was smash mouth, almost to a kick fest, so to speak. And not too many guys can really match the kick style of Ishimori, but Sydal can. And not only did he do it, he beat him with the shooting star press just for the 3 count, and ended up being pretty darn good. That just for that fact that match really occurred at a crossroads, and the fact that these two, to be honest, I actually thought this match would actually take place in Japan, but the fact that it took place on Impact on U.S. and Canada cable television, it was very remarkable for me. I enjoyed it all the way through. That's my number 4. What's yours?
Well, I kind of hinted at my number 4 and number 5, so I'm going to Ring of Honor Wrestling, and it was the tag match between the Briscoes and the Best Friends. So to kind of give
this is interesting.
Give you kind of the notes I put, a nice hot start to the match because you had the Best Friends when they're making the entrance. They were there on the apron, and then the Briscoes just started beating down on them. The nice clotheslines by the Best Friends, kind of that spot in the match. I enjoyed that. I got great double team move by the Best Friends. nice, like a long dot cutter that they did in the match well. And
a little page out of the Briscoes book, the inverted version.
Yeah, I love that. And then having Jay hit the Jay Driller, and then Mark hitting the Froggy Bolt in the match, I just enjoyed it. It was a very fun match. I enjoyed watching it. It was kind of hard to pick between that and the Fatal 5-Way where positioning on the card. I didn't really want to put Ring of Honor at number 5, but I didn't really want to put SmackDown at number 5, but someone had to take number 5. So I put SmackDown at number 5, this match at number 4.
Well, I'm going to ask you this question. I put on here in my notes, it was a must-win for both teams because Best Friends are scheduled for another tag team title shot. But the Briscoes have literally been on a focus trip since the double cross to Bully Ray back in Vegas last year. Do you honestly think this is a focus point for the Briscoes? Did they need to beat Best Friends in order to truly elevate their stock on the way to becoming 9-time champs?
Yeah, I think they really did too, because this was before the pay-per-view. Now,
right.
That wasn't a match.
Absolutely.
That wasn't a match I got to watch from the pay-per-view, but I mean, it would have, them winning would have given them momentum going into the anniversary show, because they had a tag title match against Motor City Machine Guns, basically. So, I think this was something where they had to have a must-win situation.
Absolutely.
But that was my number 4 moment for the week.
Number 3.
Okay, Cornbread, number 3.
Impact Wrestling. Normally, I would have this sucker really, really high on my list. Because I'm a fan, I am a total fan of Impact Wrestling's tag team scene. I really am. Especially with OVE being my team and the new LAX really being my team. My number 3, and normally this would be way up on the card. My number 3 is the World Tag Team Championship match with the Cult of Lee. If you've been following Impact, you stay with me on this one. If you haven't, stop living under a rock. Cult of Lee, Caleb Conley and Trevor Lee versus Santana and Ortiz of the new LAX. Too much innovation in this match by this team. I told you off the air when we had the opportunity to watch this match. I told you off the air, I said this could be one of the best LAX teams that we've seen in a long time. No disrespect to Homicide and no disrespect to Hernandez. But with Santana and Ortiz, and here's the thing, and if you really want to compare this, apples and oranges, Homicide and Hernandez was small guy, big guy, but both guys can fly. The new LAX with Santana and Ortiz, they're both literally the same weight. But Ortiz is the power, whereas Santana is pretty much the high flyer. This match has a whole lot of innovation, but it actually restored Trevor Lee back to his tag team roots. Because, believe it or not, it was 2015 with him and now known as Kurt Hawkins, the losing streak.
Chad Hawkins.
Yes. They were the Impact World Tag Team Champions in 2015. After they cashed in their version of the Money in the Bank known as Feast or Fired.
Which, that is next week's show. So, nice hint.
Absolutely. But this match ranked higher. Too bad it wasn't way high on this list. But because of the innovation of LAX, I'm enjoying Impact. This is top one. That's my number 3. What's yours?
Well, I think you were you're picking off my page over here, because my number 3 is that exact match.
Now, why is that your number 3?
Okay, well, let me go to my notes. So, my number 3, in case you didn't get it, it is the Cult of Lee versus LAX from Impact Wrestling. Let me look at my notes. Nice hot start. I love the brawling that was on the outside for the very start of the match. The great double team moves by LAX. I enjoyed that. The acoustic kick by LAX, one member of them. Nice suplex by Ortiz. I love the nice top rope DDT. More double team moves by LAX. Just the double team moves in general. You had a cutter move, I think, by Ortiz, and then like the street sweeper.
Let us street sweeper.
Yeah, great move. Like it's kind of like an electric chair, almost like.
Well, actually, it's a powerbomb blockbuster.
So I mean, yeah, the great move, and I mean, in ranking it number 3, why I put this kind of above the other two,
right,
was I rank my matches a lot of times on enjoyment and the entertainment factor. With this match to me was just more exciting and entertaining to watch than the other two. The other two were still entertaining to watch, but I just enjoyed this match a lot better than the other two. Spoiler alert, you will not actually see the main event from Impact on my list. While I like the Austin Aries Impact dynamic, it wasn't a bad match. It was too slow for me. Not that that's a bad thing, but in my ranking system, entertainment and enjoyment factor mean a whole lot. So I'm not taking shots at Aries and Impact. Great first time match. I also wanted to put Ali on here winning the Knockouts Championship from Laura Van Ness. It was a good competitive match as well, but I think this was the best match from Impact Wrestling. So that's why I put Cult of Lee versus LAX for the tag team titles as my number 3. A lot of good matches on there, but I felt this was the best of Impact Wrestling for this week, and that's my number 3 moment for the week.
Number 2.
Okay, Mr. Reefin. Numero dos.
I'm sticking with Impact Wrestling on this one. A 2-year rivalry. Like I said, if you have not watched Impact Wrestling for the last 2 years and you're still not trying to catch up on what's been going on as far as the storyline in that company, you might want to go back and watch, because to me, this is the best written story of a 2-year rivalry that you can ever come up with. And that 2-year rivalry being for the Knockouts Championship. This is my number 2. Laura Van Ness versus Ali. Ali's trying to regain the championship for a second time. The first time she won it was in the multi-knockout match, which I believe had 5 or 6 competitors in it. And out of nowhere, no one saw it coming. Ali some people say it was a fluke that she won, but it was just literally on accident. She ended up winning the Knockouts Championship the first time. The reason why this is my number 2, and this being a 2-year rivalry in the mix, is because of the evolution of Ali, but most importantly, the evolution of Laura Van Ness. From being dumped at the altar twice, and she played that character all the way through and made it captivating. And her wrestling skills in the ring has so much improved since that deal. Because at first, pretty girl, all that wasn't really just a typical quote-unquote women's wrestler. But for her to evolve in that character and to really put everything together on this deal, like I said, unprettier on the floor. It was stiff. It was brutal. Surprisingly great. This was a personal rivalry. Ali ended up being the new champion. To me, a combination of 2 very well-written storylines from, some can say, the previous regime all the way through to the middle of the regime and to the now regime. This has been excellent execution, and this one actually ranked high. It got my number 2 spot, and to me, deservedly so. That's my number 2. What's yours?
Yeah, and I mean, I do agree. Like I mentioned in my number 3, that was a good match. I like Cult of Lee of LAX, but my number 2 is actually going to come from Ring of Honor, and is going to be your number 5, I believe.
Yeah.
Castle and Lethal versus the Villain and Punishment Martinez. So, I mean, it was like you mentioned, the pay-per-view preview, so I won't really retread. Some of my notes I have on here: Punishment wants Lethal. Also, basically, Punishment started the match, and he started with Dalton Castle, which was kind of almost like a rematch from a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
Oh, so Punishment was like, no, I want Jay Lethal. So Dalton tagged out Lethal. Marty is over. I have in that people were doing the whole Marty thing, so he's definitely over with the crowd out there, and I believe they were in Center Stage still in Atlanta.
Yes, they were, Center Stage Atlanta.
And then what I also loved, Dalton wanting Marty. So when Dalton was in the ring, he wanted punishment to tag out to Marty. So and it was kind of like fair is fair. So I love that. That was entertaining to me. Nice rope walk by Dalton when he did get tagged in, and split crowd. I love the whole nose boot thing that they did during the match.
Oh yeah,
that was entertaining. I love the blind tags. Those were great.
Shades of Jim Cornette.
Yeah. Nice near fall by Dalton. Ghostbuster, I got that when Marty hit it. Blind tag by punishment. Marty returning the favor I've got in my notes. And I also put, is punishment Seth Rollins? Because I saw a lot of the whole Seth Rollins things. Like, I think he did a curb stomp during the match, and then he did like the ripcord knee thing that Seth started using. So I was like,
oh, yeah, that revolution knee.
Yeah, so I was like, is punishment Seth Rollins here? So I was like, that's in my notes. Nice deadlift German by Dalton. I believe he did that to punishment.
They have a rivalry within itself.
Yeah,
you have to admit that.
Yeah, and then I love the powder miscue by Marty, like trying to be a true villain to cheat his way to win the match. That's great, but getting in his partner's eyes, and then Jay Lethal being able to finally hit the lethal injection to win the match. I mean, it was a very entertaining match. And it was kind of hard for me to rank, like I said this week, because no match really stood out above the rest. So I had to really think, okay, what did I find more entertaining? And maybe the implications of the match, because you have the world champion in this match. So maybe that's why I think I put it above the other matches here at number 2. And just the whole tagging in and out and just how entertaining this match was. So I think that's the reason why I put this as my number 2 moment for the week. So that match is going to be my number 2.
Number 1.
Okay, let's wrap this up, Cornbread. Drum roll. Number 1 moment for the week.
If you notice on this whole list, I don't have WWE anywhere on my list at all.
Ooh.
And that's a shocker, but not a surprise. My number 1, I'm going with Impact Wrestling. Now, it would have been Okada versus Ospreay if this would have aired on U.S. cable television. It would have automatically, or even network television, that dream match would have automatically been my number 1 because I wrote it in my notes. It's a match of the year candidate. And if you had not had the opportunity to go back and watch, I suggest you do. Okada versus Ospreay, first time ever. My number 1, I'm sticking with Impact. I'm going with the main event. World Championship on the line, the first time ever. Aries versus Impact. I was so hyped for this match. I was literally waiting for Crossroads. I was hyped up for Crossroads. I was like, let this match deliver, please. To me, this match delivered a lot more than what meets the eye. And to win over that hard fans, those hard fans in the Impact Zone, that what did it for me. And here's why. I had it as almost even in every aspect. The only difference in this match was Impact's parkour style versus the smash mouth left hand style of Austin Aries. Slime Germans, awesome combination wrestling. Busting out a Samoan pop by Impact. You normally see that out of Flip Gordon.
Flip.
But not only a standing C4, and I actually put on here in my notes, you cannot have a bad pick in this match. It was either or. It was a coin flip. My personal opinion, I don't think it will top Barbed Wire Massacre as far as top match of the year so far for Impact Wrestling, but I would definitely put this as a number 2 until we see what happens at Redemption, which will be April 22nd live on pay-per-view. So far, this is my number 1, other than the fact that if you're able to get a "this is awesome" reaction out of that hard fan, out of those hard fans at the Impact Zone, that really does take the cake. This ended up being my number 1. It'll be my second match of the year candidate. It's not going to top Barbed Wire Massacre, but it will be my second match of the year candidate just for the fact that this is a first time ever match. I enjoyed it. I'll go back and watch it. That's my number one. I know my number one is not your number one. And I know for a fact it's not even on your list. So, reveal to us and the public your number one.
Okay, well, and not to knock your number one, it was a good match. It just wasn't entertaining to me, and it didn't catch my attention. And like, I wanted to, like, to the fans, go, "This is awesome. What's awesome about this match? There's nothing awesome about it." But my number one, to get to it, is actually, it comes. You said you had no WWE. Well, WWE is my number one. And
which one?
It is from Monday Night Raw, and it is the Symphony of Destruction match.
I had that label as funny.
Braun Strowman versus Elias. So just to go with my notes that I have on here, I've got piano, drums, and guitar. Basically, I loved how Elias was really showing his character and how he wasn't just one-dimensional and how he could play the guitar, he could do the drums, he could do the piano, he could do it all. So I love that development of character. Or I loved how he kind of walked to the ring, wanted a proper ring introduction, and then he tries to escape. So I love the cowardly heel by Elias. That was great. And then when he tries to kind of back out, which the announcers, I think, did this either unintentionally or intentionally, and I wanted to go, you guys just blew the illusion here. I think he had it in neutral and was trying to spin his wheels, but I have on here the Superhuman Strowman. Braun Strowman had him stopped in the car, so he couldn't really
got his hands.
Yeah, so that, and then the guitar smash during the match when because you had Braun actually attack him after they got back in the arena. Elias trying to stop him with the guitar smash. I've got Macho Man Elias on here. He gave him like the Macho Man style elbow. The Strowman, I put this in my notes, Strowman bass smash, kind of like the Incredible Hulk.
Yes.
Also, he took that big bass that he played several weeks ago that got smashed. They had another one, and he smashed it over Elias again. So I love that. And then to kind of end out my notes, I have Monster Among Musicians. So, I mean, this was just a very entertaining match. It got Strowman's over, Elias is over. Just a very fun, entertaining match to watch. I loved how Strowman kind of like kicked out that third leg of that baby grand piano and then kind of laid it down on Elias and then kind of throw it up and got the pinfall. It's just, the match wasn't a match of the year, but it was entertaining to me, and it was entertaining more than the other matches that happened this week. Still, they were good matches, but to me, this was the most entertaining. You had character building, you had story development, you had everything that makes a good, entertaining match, and that's why I put this as my number one moment for the week.
Well, let me ask you this quickly before we head to our break. Do you honestly see? And I'm gonna go ahead and play odds makers here. Do you think that it would be a disappointment for WWE if Elias is either not Intercontinental or U.S. champ, depending on the Superstar shakeup?
Yeah, or the draft or whatever they call it.
Yeah, it'll be a Superstar shakeup in this case. But do you think it'll be a bigger disappointment if Braun Strowman is not champion by December of this year?
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people have said this, and I can agree with the consensus. If you don't pull the trigger on Strowman soon, people are going to stop caring about him. So that would be a big disappointment. Elias, he's over, but if he doesn't get a title, it's not necessarily the end of the world, but the bigger disappointment of how over Strowman is, if he doesn't become Universal or WWE champion at the end of the year or by the end of the year, they're really dropping the ball.
But, and here's another question. Who should he take the Universal title off of?
Maybe Roman. I don't know. I would have to really think about that. Do you really
want another rivalry like that again?
Yeah. I mean, I do hate repetitive matches when it's the same guys over and over, but if you do have a good feud, then I don't mind it too bad. But that's all the time we have for our top five. It's now time for our final commercial break, but stay tuned. Rapid Fire is next. Attention all pro wrestling fans. You now can show your support for the podcast that is by wrestling fans, for wrestling fans. The Power of Pro Wrestling podcast on Patreon. On Patreon, you will get early access to the podcast, along with access to articles and other great content. You can show your support today on the podcast on Patreon by going to patreon.com/PPWP. Hello, everyone. This is Robert Red,
I'm Chris Hannigan.
and our show can be heard on Stitcher. Stitcher is radio on demand.
Download the free app today.
You can listen anytime and anywhere.
Stitcher is an award-winning free app that lets you listen to all your favorite shows, plus discover from 20,000 news, entertainment, and sports shows.
You can even create custom playlists.
Over 20,000 shows to discover.
You can rate and review the show on Stitcher.
Also available on iOS, Android, Nook, and iPad.
And along with that, it is in 4 million car dashboards.
And it's on demand and on the go.
No downloading, no syncing, and no wasted memory.
Stream your favorite podcasts.
Well, if you don't have Stitcher, you can download it free today at Stitcher.com or in your app store.
Hey, this is Kevin Lancaster, and you're listening to the Power of Pro Wrestling podcast.
Welcome back to the show. It's now time for our fastest segment of the show, Rapid Fire. For this edition of Rapid Fire, we'll be giving our predictions on who will win this Sunday at Fastlane pay-per-view. So let's start with, okay, Cornbread, we're going to start with Natalya and Carmella versus Becky Lynch and Naomi.
I say Becky Lynch and Naomi for one reason. Because of the money in the bank factor with Carmella, having her lose at this point will not be a bad thing. Because you want her to be fresh when she cashes in. So I say Becky Lynch, Naomi, because they really, really have an axe to grind. And for Natalya coming out of nowhere, I was like, really? Now you want to add her? So I say, just at this point, Becky Lynch, Naomi.
Okay, I think I'm going to agree with you with the Becky Lynch and Naomi, and it's for the simple fact WWE has a history of letting the person who's got the money in the bank lose, and then potentially
They did that with Rollins, 2015.
Yeah, they had him lose at Mania, and then later in the night in the main event, he cashed in. So it's not going to necessarily
cash in ever.
It won't necessarily hurt Carmella if she loses because she still got the money in the bank. She can always cash in. They can rebuild her up as a credible champion. And so, I mean, her losing wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing here. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I could see a Becky Lynch, Naomi winning this match. Let's move on to the Royal Rumble winner, Shinsuke Nakamura versus It's Rusev Day. It's Rusev Day.
You don't want to kill the momentum with Nakamura. Even though the fans are really behind Rusev and they really do enjoy Nakamura, you don't want to kill Nakamura's chances at WrestleMania. So I say Nakamura wins.
Okay. I agree with everything you just said. You have to keep Nakamura and that momentum going. You don't want to have him lose at this point to Rusev.
But you don't want Rusev going dead.
Yeah, you don't want him either because Rusev is very hot. I mean, you have the whole Rusev Day thing. He's a very over talent, like I mentioned with Elias and Braun Strowman are on Raw. So, I mean, it's kind of sad that he's going to lose this match to Shinsuke Nakamura, but you have to keep Nakamura momentum going and a credible challenger for the WWE title, whoever may win, which we'll get into later. So, I mean, you have to let Nakamura win this match. Let's move on to the SmackDown Live Tag Team titles, and it's the rivalry renewed. The Usos versus the New Day. Who do you got and why?
I say this is a possible match of the year contender. A possible. If it's the following. If it's Big E and Xavier Woods, then Usos retain their titles. If it's Kofi and Big E, we'll have new champs.
Okay, some good analysis. I'm going to pick the Usos to retain. This could be maybe they swap the titles here because, like I said, WWE has a history of the show before Mania swapping the tag titles because we saw it, and I think this might have been the inaugural Fastlane in 2015, and that they did it where they had Tyson Kidd Cesaro beat the then champions to become the tag team champions. So,
Absolutely.
it would not surprise me if they did switch the tag titles. I was wrong on Raw. Hopefully, I'm right here. This could be where the New Day wins, but I'm going to say the Usos retain here. But whoever wins, I'm calling this now. They're going to face the Bludgeon Brothers.
But here's
Harper and Rowan are going to be involved in the title picture at Mania against whoever is going to be the tag team champions. I'm going to say it's the Usos, but I'm not going to be surprised if the New Day win. And they have maybe New Day, Usos, and the Bludgeon Brothers.
which New Day guys should be competing?
Ooh, that's interesting. Obviously, Big E, I think, but I don't know if I want to see Kofi or Xavier in that thing.
They have the best chances with Kofi than Xavier.
I love Kofi just because you have the experience factor. Or I'm not saying Xavier's not experienced, but just Kofi has the WWE experience, and he has that championship experience. So I would say Kofi over Xavier in that sense. Okay, let's move on to the women's title on SmackDown Live, and it was Ruby Riott of the Riott Squad versus Charlotte Flair. Who do you got on this and why?
I say Charlotte Flair because of experience. I'm not talking family lineage or anything like that. I say Charlotte Flair because of experience. If Ruby Riott lands that Riott kick and busts out her submission style and busts out her original style, I'll say the champ's in trouble. But I say Charlotte Flair retains, but keep your eye on Carmella.
Okay, well, with you saying that, do you think we're going to see a cash in by Carmella at Sunday's Fastlane pay-per-view?
It would be very surprising if she cashes in before Mania, but if I were her, I will wait till Mania to cash in.
Okay, good strategy, kind of like Seth Rollins. I definitely agree with you. Charlotte Flair is going to retain the title, especially if she's going to have the rumored match with Asuka, which that is a big match, but I'd much rather see Asuka take on Bliss. And storyline wise, I don't know why Asuka would really want to go against Charlotte because you've already beaten Bliss. Wouldn't you psychologically want to fight someone you know you can beat and win the title easily versus someone who might give you more of a challenge and you're unsure if you can beat or not? So, I mean, and to me, Charlotte's keeping the title, but who she's facing at Mania is unsure. So we'll see what happens.
But if, and I'll let me follow up on your point here for just a moment. If you decide to let go Asuka Charlotte Flair, then who would face Bliss for the championship?
Well, I think they kind of have it blatantly obvious. If Asuka goes over to SmackDown, Nia Jax. It's going to be Nia Jax and Alexa. But we'll wait and see. Let's move on to the glorious United States title match, and it is the champ Bobby Roode versus Randy Orton.
That'd be Bobby Roode. You know we can't say that other word on here.
Hey, this podcast, I can say Bobby Roode.
But
there's no
that's wrong.
There's no cease and desist letter here.
That's wrong. We don't wear bras. What's wrong with you?
Hey, we're guys. We like boobies, though.
Well,
let's get to.
I'm so tolerant. I'll go Bobby Roode to retain, but I'll go Randy Orton just for squeaky grease gets the wheel. So he'll probably sneak in like out of nowhere and try to attempt that chip to win the title, but it'd be best for Bobby Roode to retain.
Yeah.
But you got to keep an eye out for two things. That's Jinder Mahal and Rusev. Those are the X factors coming into this match.
Yeah. I would say Jinder more than Rusev being an X factor in this match. That's because I'm saying maybe we get a three-way at Mania between Jinder, Randy Orton, and Bobby Roode. So, I mean, and with that, I'm going to say Bobby Roode retains, but maybe it's a dirty finish. Maybe Randy Orton wins because Jinder interferes, and that's how the three-way is set up. But Bobby Roode will walk out as U.S. champion. Whether he wins the match or not remains to be seen. I mean, Randy Orton could win via DQ, but Bobby Roode will walk out as U.S. champion. And maybe that sets up a three-way between them, because that seems to be the logical way to handle the U.S. title situation going into WrestleMania. But let's go to our last match, which is the six-pack challenge, and it is for the WWE title: Styles versus Owens versus Zayn versus Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler versus John Cena. Who do you got and why?
If you had to pick this match on who will be the sneakiest, Corbin, Ziggler, or Owens will be your best bet. If this comes down to a power match and you end with a power finisher, or may I say a power signature move, I say number 17 for Cena. If, like I said, the only way Cena wins this match is if his attitude adjustment does not involve people watching you on the outside. That's the only way this will happen. Because I will look, because here's the thing, if you're just flip-flopping with Cena right now at this point, your best option would be Cena, Styles, Nakamura at Mania. That'll be your best option if you are flip-flopping with John Cena at this point. But it's going to be hard for Styles to retain. If Styles really had the genius mind and the must-win situation mind that he does right now, and he needs to for this match, he could retain. But he has the very smallest chance of anybody retaining his title. I got Cena just for, I'm not doing it for number 17, but I'm doing it for the fact that I would love to see this match, a three-way, an awesome three-way match at Mania. 3 franchise players from New Japan, WWE, and Impact. 3 franchise players for the WWE title at WrestleMania.
Okay. I honestly don't want to see that. I want it to be a one-on-one match between Nakamura and who I think is going to win this match, AJ Styles. I love the story that they're going to tell for this match because, like I mentioned in the last segment, AJ Styles is going to have to break up pinfalls and have eyes in the back of the head for this match. Now, they could play Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens going into this. That could maybe work into the finish of this match. But I think you've got AJ Styles. If we're getting Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, which a lot of us fans don't want to see, you've got to pacify us or acquiesce that you got to give us Styles and Nakamura. You got to give us that dream match for us hardcore fans. If you're going to give the casuals, like I said, Lesnar and Reigns, and that's what you want to do, then at least give us Styles and Nakamura one-on-one.
But do you think Styles should sneak in and get the 1, 2, 3 quickly and roll out?
I don't know how that would be smart strategy.
Because the Styles Clash is not going to help him at this point.
Yeah.
He cannot use the Styles Clash because that Styles Clash could go wrong. And bottom line, you can have a Dolph Ziggler sneak in with the zigzag and the 3 count.
Yeah.
Especially with Dolph signing that new contract. That's the thing that's scary at this point. It's very scary that Dolph Ziggler may walk out of there as the champion.
Yeah,
that's scary.
Yeah, that is a scary fact. But, I mean, I don't think he's going to come out. I really think AJ is going to win at Fastlane and keep the title going into WrestleMania. Otherwise, why have Nakamura win the Royal Rumble? It would be all for naught if Styles is not going to retain the title. But that's all the time we have for the podcast. I'd like to thank you, Cornbread, for joining me today.
Thank you.
You can follow you where on social media?
I'm at twitter.com. Actually, the Twitter handle is Chris Heineken 1, capital C, capital H.
Twitter.
That's right, Chris Heineken 1. I am there on Twitter and Facebook.com/The Real Cornbread is Christopher David Heineken. You can find me. You can find me in 2 different locations on Fridays and Saturdays. Fridays, Osceola, Arkansas, Mid-Southern Championship Wrestling. We have an anniversary show coming up on April the 6th, and you don't know who may stop by. Could be some WWE guys. It could be some independent guys. It could be some big-time legends. We have a big show there coming up on April the 6th, and that is a Friday night. It's 1098 West Kaiser, right off of I-55. That's MCW, Osceola, Arkansas.
Featured on WGN's Wrestling with Death. So you definitely want to check if you're out in the area. Where else are you at?
Saturday, that's Friday night. Saturday night, Hoxie, Arkansas. Out of Control Wrestling there, 609 Southeast Gibson. We're right off of I-555, a.k.a. Highway 63 for the Arkansas enthusiasts and Arkansas loyalty. I'm there every single Saturday night. Start time 7:05. 3 great hours of pro wrestling, and we'll be taping for syndicated television and YouTube. And Strictly LCW episodes air every single Sunday night. Various syndicated locations at 11 p.m. Eastern and 10 o'clock Central. And as a bonus, for those of you who do not get Strictly LCW on your syndicated dials or digital antennas, we'll have it available to everyone worldwide on YouTube every single Sunday night.
Okay.
Where can they find you at?
Well, they can find me on a lot of platforms. I'm on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Robert Ray Jr. Twitter, you can find me at Robert Ray Jr. The podcast Twitter handle is at PPWP Podcast. I have Instagram where you can see a lot of great pictures. I do a lot of Woman Crush Wednesday, so hopefully that's not annoying to you guys, but you can find me on Instagram.com/Robert Ray Jr. YouTube, it's youtube.com/user/the Robert Red, where you can find a lot of my videos. Also, I'm going to hopefully be adding more in the future, so you definitely want to subscribe and like and share my stuff. I'm on Snapchat, I believe, as well. I think it's Mark Wonders 85 is my username. I'd have to go back and check. But yeah, a lot of great places you can follow me on social media. And you can subscribe to our show for free on Google Play or iTunes by searching the Power of Pro Wrestling Podcast on Shout Engine, or like you mentioned at the top of the show, we're now on Stitcher. And if you like our show, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends on social media, just check our show out and give us your feedback. And also leave us a review on the show on iTunes as well. Stitcher, I believe you can do that as well. Shout Engine, if you want to give us our feedback, just leave a comment. We'd greatly appreciate it. You can financially support the show on Patreon, where you'll get all sorts of wonderful perks, and it's patreon.com/PPWP, where all the month of March, all content is going to be made available to you, the listener, for free. But we would like to thank you guys today for checking out the show, and catch us next time on the Power of Pro Wrestling Podcast.
See ya.